Welcome to Barcelona for the international launch of this, the all-new Honda ZR-V. Now this car represents something of a departure for Honda, and that's because it's an all-new nameplate, and that's not something Honda does very often. Just think about its current model range. The CR-V has been around for 5 generations and 26 years, and there's another generation due later this year, while the Civic has been around 11 generations and like 50 years. Then you have the Jazz and the HR-V, both of which are names that have been around since 1983 and 1988 respectively, even if they were names that were resurrected after an extended hiatus in use. Granted, there was the Honda E of 2020, which was an all-new nameplate, but it's the first one in many years, and arguably it had to be, considering that it was so very different to anything that Honda had done before. The ZR-V isn't as revolutionary as that, but that doesn't mean it's any less significant, especially when it comes to the company's coffers. This all-new C-segment crossover enters Honda's SUV range, slap bang in the middle, sitting between the smaller HR-V and the larger CR-V, and that puts it in a very popular sector of the car market, meaning it could potentially be a big sales success if Honda gets it right. Not massively surprisingly given its size, the ZR-V shares quite a lot with the Civic hatchback. Hybrid drivetrain, most of the platform, the lot pretty much. But the good news on that score is that the Civic is a very, very good car. One of the best of its type, we reckon. So, can the ZR-V be just as impressive? Well, in the first area of testing, no actually. Many people buy SUVs over hatchbacks because they think they'll be more practical. But the 380 litres you get in here is identical to a Volkswagen Golf, and it's actually smaller than the 410 litres you get in the Civic. Choose the range-topping advanced model and your boot actually loses another 10 litres due to the stereo subwoofer. Having said all that, the boot should still be big enough for most families' needs, and the rear seats fold down to leave an impressively flat load bay. The ZR-V does have a slightly shorter wheelbase than the Civic, but if anything, the back seats feel even roomier. Legroom feels just as generous, and headroom feels even more generous. So I'm 6'1" and I fit easily. There is a flat floor in the middle as well, but this narrow middle seat isn't somewhere that you'd want to park your posterior for long journeys. Get up front and you will notice lots of commonality with the Civic. The dashboard design is very similar, with this same metallic honeycomb surround for your air vents, but you don't get the same cool little joystick controllers for switching the airflow. You get these little tab things instead. You also get, lo and behold, buttons and dials for controlling your aircon, and hallelujah for that. The infotainment system is something else borrowed from the Civic, and again, that's a good thing because it's much better than the hopeless systems found in older Hondas. The graphics are better, the responses are quicker and slicker, and the whole system is much more logical and intuitive. The other thing you'll recognise from the Civic is the quality on show. The vast majority of the materials look and feel impressively classy, and the build quality feels very tight indeed, and this all conspires to give a generally classy and sophisticated feel. But will the ZR-V feel as sophisticated once you hit the road? Well, it's time to find out. Like we said before, the ZR-V shares the same hybrid system as the Civic, and like the Civic, hybrid form is the only form there is in the UK. The system combines a 2-litre non-turbocharged direct injection Atkinson-Cycle petrol engine and 2 electric motors to deliver a combined output of around 180 horsepower. It's what you might call a self-charging hybrid, so you don't plug it in, it simply recharges its batteries through energy recycled in braking and deceleration. And you can vary the level of the brake regen with these metallic paddles behind the steering wheel. Here's how it works. The hybrid system has various modes and it switches between them automatically without input from the driver. During low-speed urban driving, the car runs in EV mode where the battery level allows, but when stronger acceleration is needed, it switches to hybrid drive, where the wheels are propelled by the electric motor and the necessary electric power is generated by the petrol engine. When driving at constant high speeds, like on the motorway, the system switches to engine drive mode, where the wheels are powered by the engine directly. Your 0 to 62 figure stands at 7.8 seconds, so it's not exactly a rocket ship. But way more importantly than that, the pickup feels nice and eager from pretty much anywhere on the rev range, so getting up to speed feels like a nice relaxed undertaking. The petrol engine does sound a little bit raucous when it's required to work hard, but that doesn't often happen. The switches between the various hybrid modes are perceptible, but they're always smooth and unobtrusive. As well as the hybrid modes, you can also toggle between 4 driving modes, including Eco, Normal, Sport and Snow. However, these only really vary the throttle response, and the differences are so marginal that you'll barely notice the difference. The ZR-V is a relaxed car in other ways too. That's really no surprise when the front end of the platform is picked straight from the similarly relaxed Civic, while the rear is taken from the forthcoming CR-V. The roads in this part of Spain are nowhere near as knackered as the ones we have to endure back in the UK, so it's a little bit difficult for us to tell right now just how well it'll deal with such a surface. But from what we can tell so far, the car does seem to ride really very nicely, taking the sting out of most lumps and bumps and staying impressively well controlled. It changes direction reasonably sharply as well, with strong grip and decent suppression of body roll, with steering that's both quick and responsive without feeling twitchy. You might actually be surprised by how weighty the steering feels, but that serves to inspire more confidence in the corners. That said, the ZR-V doesn't have the agility of the Civic, probably due to the fact that Honda have somehow managed to make it between 150 and 200 kilos heavier than its sister car. Quite a feat when much of it is the same hardware. That would probably also account for why fuel economy is nowhere near as good. 41 miles per gallon for the ZR-V versus 56 for the Civic. So the ZR-V is just as sophisticated and as polished as we've come to expect from Honda's other recent products, and it is a very good all-rounder. Precisely how appealing it will be to potential buyers and how successful it will be as a result will depend much on how much it costs, especially when the market it competes in is so incredibly competitive. And because we're making this video 3 weeks before the prices are published, that important factor currently remains a mystery, although we will put the prices in the description text as soon as we have them. Honda has got plenty right with this car. Let's hope they get that bit right as well. We hope you enjoyed this CarGurus UK video, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for loads more like it. And for a great deal on your next car, make sure you visit cargurus.co.uk.